Carefree highway, let me slip away on you. Carefree highway, I've seen better days from the morning after blues, from my head down to my shoes. Carefree highway, let me slip away on you. Ventura Highway in the sunshine, where the days are longer, the nights are stronger than moonshine. You're gonna go, I know, whoa, 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 whoa. 'Cause a free wind is blowing through your hair. Okay, that's enough. What are we gonna talk about today? Let's see, we have Carefree Highway, we have Ventura Highway. I'm not gonna mention the AC/DC highway for you old rockers out there, but we're gonna talk about the highway, okay? The highway. For some reason, you know, when we're talking about covenant Israel and when we're talking about the blessing of Israel, when we're talking about the definition of Israel, one of the definitions of Israel is let God prevail. When Jacob had his wrestle with the Lord and he gave in, dislocated his hip and walked with a limp the rest of his life because of that wrestling match. So, but he let God prevail in his life. And thus it was named, or that name came, let God prevail. So we're gonna talk about this highway that's gonna be cast up from the north, and where the lost 10 tribes. And they who are in the north country shall come in remembrance before the Lord. Okay? Now let's look at every single word of this. This is section 133:26. Section 133:26, which is really awesome. So we get a lot of Isaiah, Ezekiel talking about the lost 10 tribes, or the 10 lost tribes. I think it's the 10 lost tribes, not the lost 10 tribes. So we're talking about this, and there seems to be, you know, a lot of people who believe that this is very literal and that they're underneath the polar ice caps up north, and the ice will, well, let's just read this verse, okay? And they who are in the north countries shall come in remembrance before the Lord, and their prophets shall hear his voice, and shall no longer stay themselves, and they shall smite the rocks, and the ice shall flow down at their presence. And highway, not Ventura Highway, shall be cast up in the midst of the great deep. Their enemies shall become a prey unto them. And then it goes on and talks about this. So this is really cool stuff. Now, even though my handle is prepaid preacher Palmer, I try not to do too much preaching. By preaching, coming off that I have the knowledge and you need to know what I know. I don't like that approach because I like to keep an open mind, number one. And number two, it doesn't come off very well to do that. So I always include in my opinion. Now, if I say in my opinion, I don't think that's coming off as too preachy. I'm going to make an exception on this. Not the 10 tribes and not the ice and all that. I'm not making, you know what? I'm still open to it, you know? God can do anything, anywhere, anyhow, with any group of people. So I'm not going to limit that. What I want to get preachy about is we have to think things differently. We have to think outside of a box that we have been placed in, spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally. You know, there's, you can say they're conspiracies and whatnot. I happen to believe they are conspiracies, and I think they're absolutely true. I have no problem with the word conspiracy or secret combinations. So my point is sometimes we just have to rethink things. Now, this happened to me today. I was thinking about it. I read some comments and things about, you know, what we've been talking about a little bit about the 10 tribes. Because really, we're talking about gathering scattered Israel. And I know people think that there's a difference between gathering Israel and the 10 tribes. And for that reason, I cannot understand why. The tribe of Ephraim, which we hold so dear, and many of us are from that tribe, and not necessarily from being adopted, but from the loins or the blood. And Ephraim, of course, was one of the 10 northern tribes that were taken captive and taken up into the north. So as you look at these things, you have to kind of, okay, so someone said, oh, well, you know, then the city of Enoch, probably you don't believe in that either. I'm like, whoa. We have a record of the city of Enoch. We know what happened to them. They got taken up and they will be coming back down. What we know of the 10 lost tribes is that they were taken captive and taken up into the north countries. We don't know that they were taken up into heaven, or we don't know that they were put down under the ground. We don't have that record. We know that the people of Enoch were transfigured, translated. They were terrestrialized. They were quickened. They were caught up. They were raptured, and they're up. And they still need to go through a resurrection process, so they're going to be coming back down. But these 10 tribes, okay, so how does that work? We even know that Lehi, okay, think of this. I just thought of this today, maybe last night. The last thing I'm going to say, I just thought of today, but last night I was thinking of Lehi, that he tells us he's from Manasseh, one of the lost tribes. And guess what? We don't have his record. It was lost. It was part of the 116 page manuscript. Gonzo. We're hoping to get it back. That could be a fulfillment of some of that prophecy, where we get some of those records back from Manasseh, from a prophet of Manasseh, which was Lehi. See? I don't know if you guys are a lot smarter than me. I can't remember if Nephi gave his lineage. We could think that it might be from Manasseh. He did call himself a Jew, but we have that explanation is because they're from Jerusalem. And Lehi is the same thing. He could consider himself not necessarily the tribe of Judah, but he could consider himself a Jew because he was from Jerusalem. So we're assuming that his family migrated from the north, the land of inheritance of Manasseh, and came down south to the Jerusalem area. And even though he was of the 10 tribes, his family had come before the separation of the kingdoms, the northern and southern kingdoms. I don't know. I mean, there's just a lot of things we don't know. But that's an interesting thing to think about, that we don't have Lehi's record. And we'll get that. I feel we'll get that someday. It'd be amazing to see what Lehi had to say. Contemporary of Jeremiah? Are you kidding me? Be pretty awesome. And probably his insights of my feeling, it's always been he's the one that had the insights of Isaiah and passed that on to his family. But, you know, we don't know. Okay, so the other thing is, think of this. Our dear and beloved prophet, President Nelson, has said that we are to gather scattered Israel on both sides of the veil. why have we not, and maybe someone else has thought of this, I haven't seen it. So if they have, which almost always somebody has already thought of it, I just haven't discovered it, but I thought it came to my mind as I was reading and studying. I went, well, maybe this whole prophecy is mostly about records of deceased tribal members. That would be tens of thousands, if not millions, of people, and their records come forth, and they break forth on an information highway. And think of the word highway. What if I say Ventura Highway, or if I say Carefree Highway, or if I say AC/DC's highway? We think of a road, and we think of like a freeway or a really nice paved road that comes and we travel on. That's awesome. But a highway, a higher way, or a different way, or a way that we can't comprehend, these people are going to come forth. This work, literally, maybe we're going to receive, and we already have received millions of records of individuals. Now, as far as I know, we don't do patriarchal blessings for deceased people in doing their work. I don't think we do. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we do. So we don't even know. So thousands and thousands and millions of people, their records are coming forth. And that could be what this is. And that highway, that higher way of information and knowledge of these people could be exactly what's going on right now, and then on steroids in the future. And we could even have records discovered of these people and the prophecies that they had. So I'm thinking this could be an archaeological event in addition to more people being discovered. Not like a whole civilization. I still I'm thinking that this isn't going to be a new civilization coming underneath the polar ice cap. That's just me, okay? You know what? Anything's possible. But for me, okay. The last few years, and I can't pinpoint it, I really can't. But for the last few years, I have just felt driven to study the second coming, to study the scriptures more in depth, and to really see what the Lord's saying to me. Okay, and I just, it's opened my eyes to look at things that they could happen a lot faster than I had originally thought. And I've mentioned this many times, but if it's just us doing things all the time, then man, we can look at that things aren't going to happen for a long time as far as the events preceding the second coming and the second coming itself of Christ. So I've totally switched. My mind switched. I can't tell you when, but it's been a few years. My mind's totally switched. And now I look at things as either they've happened, they're happening, or they're going to happen really soon. And so when my mind switched that way, all of a sudden, the scriptures and the meanings of things changed dramatically for me. I'm not saying that anybody should do that, or that I'm right and they're wrong. I'm just telling you what's happened to me. So now, I really feel like things are close. By close, I think our prophet speaks it. The feeling is there. The events, we've talked about this over and over again. The signs, the 2017 September 23rd, I think it is, Virgo and all that. That was a big one. But prior to that, I was already looking into it. That's why I knew it. And that's why my wife and I, Sister Palmer, and I'm going to call her Sue from now on, or Suzanne. I don't feel comfortable about us calling, and someone mentioned that too in a comment, and I was like, yeah, that's why I don't like it. Somebody mentioned it really, really well in one of the comments of why we call it brother and sister. You know, they're our spouse, they're our eternal companion, or our life mate, or whatever you want to call their husband, wife. She's it, you know. Next to Jesus, she's it. So anyway, we were teaching this at a zone conference prior to it happening, and during and after. I'm talking about the Virgo, the sign in the heaven giving birth, you know, and it's just Revelation 12. So this has been on our mind for quite some time, but I'm just telling you, since something changed in me that way, I'll call it an awakening maybe. I see things different in the scriptures. So I'll look at this prophecy, and instead of thinking how I used to think about, you know, this cool Shangri-La, or a really, really good book for just fun reading. King Solomon's Mines, Alan Quarterman, H. Rider Haggard, H.R. Haggard is the author. It's an old book. I think it was written in either late 1800s or early 1900s. It's an adventure book. And then he has another one called She. Anyway, just total recreational reading. But it kind of reminds me of how I used to think of the 10 tribes as these lost civilizations and people living to, you know, hundreds and hundreds of years old. I love all that kind of stuff. And, you know, lost in the Andes Mountains or in the Himalayas, and there's this, you know, Shangri-La, right? So that's how I've thought of it. I don't think that way anymore. And I think that this gathering of scattered Israel, because we think of the 10 tribes as being scattered. So when the prophet uses the word gathering scattered Israel, he's talking about, in my opinion, the 10 tribes. And so this is going on, and it will continue. So the preaching part is I really feel it's important for us to think differently about what we read in scripture, or that doesn't even sound right, because there's all these layers and it's all cool and wonderful, but somehow, some way, our minds have to be opened up to think of options, different ways that things could happen, and particularly about prophecy, and particularly about the second coming. So I'm a person who looks through the lens of everything is close. How could this happen faster than my old way of thinking? I'll be honest, that's how I do it now. I find that there's the other side of people in the church. They are looking at how things are going to happen way in the future. And so their interpretation of things are that, okay? That, you know, when are we ever going to, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and the priesthood, when are we going to be going to Adam-on-Diamond and building that? When are we going to be going to Jerusalem and building that? When are we going to prepare a city to come down out of heaven? Or prepare a city for people to come down out of, wherever Enoch and his city is. You know, and as I've read it, I'm going, well, the city of Enoch, he's probably going to bring the city with him. Boom, that's done. When they come, and it's over. Boom, they're there. The 10 tribes, yeah, they've been being gathered since the keys were restored to Moses, or by Moses, to Joseph Smith and Oliver. Gathering. Israel is Israel. Israel is Israel. Israel is Israel. The 10 tribes up north, the 2 tribes below, it's all Israel. And they've been being gathered. Yeah. And they're not as lost as they used to be. What else? The temple in Jerusalem, I've really felt like anybody can build a temple. It's sanctified when it's dedicated. And who can dedicate it? Whoever God chooses, whoever he gives authority to. If it's Jesus Christ, it's Jesus Christ. If it's a prophet, it's a prophet. If it's an apostle, it's an apostle. If it's someone that the apostle assigns to do it, they can do it. I don't know exactly how a temple dedication works, but I have a pretty good idea. I've been to none of them, other than virtual. Actually, I think I did go to a session of one. I might have gone. Anyway, I can't remember now, sorry. But my point is there are workers, there's builders, there's people doing the work, and until someone who has the authority dedicates it, it's fine. So the Jews could build that temple is my point. And then Christ could come in and ratify it if they don't have the authority, if Christ didn't give them the authority. So in other words, my point is I don't really feel like that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has to somehow sneak over into Israel, or things have to just dramatically change and then they build the temple. And until that happens, Christ isn't coming, because that temple has to be built. That I do agree with. But I can see things happening. So you see how I'm going with this. I'm taking these events that seem to be so far away, and I'm going, now let's read these scriptures. Let's see how this might happen sooner than later. Okay? Earthquakes, pestilence, famines, COVID-19. Could that be fulfillment of prophecy instead of waiting for like a bigger thing, or something like? Okay, I'm done. You guys are awesome. Love you, love you, love you. Suzanne, not Sue, or not Susan. Sue or Suzanne will join me very, very soon. I just wanted to get this one out. Love you all, and talk to you soon. Bye.